Hey there, I'm Heather Sullivan. Welcome to Sullivan Smart Sense. Thanks so much for being with us. We're getting closer to Valentine's Day. So I thought it would be great to talk about a huge issue for couples, and that is sharing finances, managing your money together. We know that actually issues surrounding sharing finances can be one of the top things that leads to divorce or people breaking up. So we want to prevent that. So I've got an expert today with some great advice to help you navigate how to do that with your partner. And we're also going to talk about an app that she helped create specifically to help couples share their finances. So please join me in welcoming Katherine Salisbury with Qapital, and that's Capital with a Q. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, first, let's just talk a little bit about Qapital and what you guys do.
So Qapital's a financial management app. It helps you manage your money, everything from investing and paying your bills and planning. But we have a feature called Dream Team, which is relevant for Valentine's Day, which is how couples can manage their money together.
Yeah, I've got this down here, by the way, Qapital Dream Team. And so I want to talk a little bit more about the app, and I've got some screenshots of it. So as you're talking about it, I'm going to show our viewers that. Go ahead and first just tell me a little bit about the app and how it works and how it can help people.
So the most fundamental way to use Qapital is to think of something you want. My first use case was a piano. And then every time I'd go to hop in a taxi or order takeaway or something like that, I'd think to myself, how about I save this $15 and I buy part of a piano? And we do that for you through automation. So every time you hop in an Uber or don't hop in an Uber or something like that, or walk 10,000 steps, we automatically put that money towards your goals. That's really the most kind of fundamental experience, but it goes also the same for retirements or down payments or emergency funds. And then of course, you can manage your money even better when we help you with your paycheck and paying your bills and all of that fun stuff.
What inspired you to create something? Because there are a lot of, financial apps out there to help people manage their money, but yours, like we mentioned, is geared specifically to help couples. What sort of inspired you guys to do this?
Well, I founded the company and run the company with my significant other. We have 4 kids together, very little time, and we were bickering about money management. And I kept saying, George, I'm doing a lot better than you think I am. If you could only see what I do in a day. But like in many households, I have taken on the role of procurer. I buy the kids' clothes, I buy the groceries, I buy the new light bulbs, I buy the shovel for the snow. And so it seems like I'm the one spending all the money. So it's good for us to have a product where we can say, here are our goals. And when I'm spending this money, it's coming out of, house improvements or the kids' clothes or something else that we already agreed on. It gives George a sense of visibility and control. And it makes my life easier. And then he also likes me to be the household CFO. When the paychecks hit, I can move them into retirement or do whatever I want with them. He permissions me, and he can take that permission away whenever he wants. We can also link our other accounts, like if we have retirement savings, somewhere else, like at Schwab or Robinhood, we can link those so we can have visibility into what does our total household savings look like. And so it came out of our own needs, busy couple that wears a lot of hats and has 2 incomes and a lot of costs with 4 kids. And it helps us stay on the same page, and date nights can be date nights.
A little separation of time allocation there. I was looking at the website. It looks like there are different levels for costs for consumers. Can you just talk about that and what people get if they choose to do that?
Sure. So the first level is really that basic savings account. I want to go to Hawaii, or you can have as many as you want, but you're just keeping your money in cash and we're just automatically moving it for you from your primary checking account into your Qapital goals. And so it's really a savings goal experience. The second level is $6 a month. And that is, I want control of everything. When my paycheck hits, I want it to automatically go where it belongs. If I want to put away 10% for retirement, it's automatically invested into retirement. And when it hits, when George's hits, it also does that. And the money goes away for, the kids' babysitters and things like that. So that's the second level. Everything's handled on payday. It's comprehensive. Spending, savings, investing, all of that. And then the third tier, the $12 tier, is for when you want to get really nerdy. So we work with behavioral economists, and we're really all about how to help you be as responsible as possible while not using up many units of your good behavior in a day. We figure there's only so many good things you can do in a day. And if we can automate them for you or make it effortless for you, then you're going to be optimizing. And that's what that third tier is for.
Okay. But I was also reading that you guys have sort of drilled down and sort of gotten an average amount of savings that have resulted for your customers. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, the average Qapital customer, the more products they use, the more they save, which is kind of what you hope you're doing as you engage users more and offer them more products. So the average user, I don't have the exact numbers handy, unfortunately, but it's quite a bit more than they normally do. And I love reading the reviews in the app stores saying, I've never saved like this before, and it was effortless. I mean, that's really what we're trying to do. And the product, as we've designed it, is supposed to be for all demographics. So we have customers that have pretty sizable incomes and customers that are on their first paycheck, or maybe even students. And it really works the same. We all have to think twice before we spend our money and think, is there something we value more? And so while we do have averages, we have, customers of all different types. We have 2 million customers.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thanks so much. And to let people know again, if they're interested in utilizing that, you want to go to qapital.com and you can get some more information. And that's Qapital with a Q. But let's, for all of our viewers watching, let's just talk about the concepts and the challenges and some ways, to help people share their finances. First, maybe for a new couple, what would be some of your advice just to help a couple talk about it and figure out a plan?
So I think one of the key things, of course, is communication. Everyone says it, but it's hard to do. So one of the things we found is we make it goal-based. What is it we want to do every month? Of course, we want to pay all of our bills every month. Are we just starting to date? I remember George charging me for part of a TV. I was like, I don't know if this is appropriate. He's from Sweden. It could be cultural. So, some things are kind of aligning on where are we at in our relationship and what should our expectation be of the other person? Are we splitting dinner still or, and so forth. So I think just by putting it in a goal-based way, hey, wouldn't it be nice if we go on vacation this year? Or wouldn't it be nice if we get a sofa this year or move in together or have a baby? So I think if you know what your goals are, then it kind of starts to go from there. The conversation becomes a little more natural. Well, if we're going to achieve this, then what are we going to cut? And how much do you want to put towards this? Oh, maybe you can't pay off your student loans as quickly. How do you feel about that? But I think if you're anchoring around here are our top 1, 2, 3 goals, then the rest starts to make sense. And then we find that it's easier to create a goal virtually in the app, for example, and on our own, and then share it with the other. And then we have a comment section. So it's almost like a Google Doc where you can leave comments and put down a draft and say, how about we set aside this much for summer vacation? And then George can say, can we do it more cheaply? Is basically what is the next part of that conversation. And then I say, well, what would you like to cut? Would you like to not get on an airplane? Should we drive there? Pack the sandwiches? Oh, maybe that's not so fun. And we go back and forth, but it's in the comment section as opposed to, again, while brushing our teeth after a long day or during a date night. And the conversation goes a little more constructively, is our experience.
Yeah, that's so cute. when you have two people, because I think, when couples start to see conflict in managing finances together, it's because they come from different schools of thought about spending and expenses. What would be your advice to trying to resolve or both come to some sort of agreement about spending? It's a big issue.
It really is a big issue. And, George is from Sweden. I'm from the States. We have very different upbringings and different kind of personalities also. And I find that saying neither of us is right. We both have legitimate goals here. And mine might be, my kids are small. I really value these years with them in a huge way. And so not missing the nice Christmas or a summer vacation while they still want to be with us is really important to me. And that's not fiscal irresponsibility. It's recognizing that this is maybe a little more important to me than other things. And but I think a lot of people feel empowered just by being the better saver or the lower spender. And I think that maybe neither is correct. It's your life, and you only get to live it once, and no one has a crystal ball. So respect everyone's risk tolerance of, I want to optimize my moments now, or I want to save my money for a rainy day later. It's hard to know which is right.
I like that you're talking about sort of explaining to the person not only why or that you want something, but why you want it. Because I think when you can start to reach, money really has big emotional attachments, more so than I think we realize. Or it's that Christmas holiday or the new car or whatever it is, and so I like that you're talking about the why, so that you're coming to some understanding of where you're both coming from on it. I think that sounds really helpful. Let's talk a little bit about automatic saving, because that can be, such a big deal. Really help people to make sure that saving is happening and you're not even thinking about it.
Absolutely. I mean, it cuts both ways. You can accidentally spend too much. These little expenses kind of whittle away at your savings, but if you kind of accidentally save, it does the opposite and slowly builds your cushion. So the automation, I mean, when people have to opt out of their 401k instead of opting in, you just see tremendous difference in people's retirement savings. And the same goes with everything. So that's why we really like it if people start with the moment the paycheck hits, because when the paycheck hits, if you immediately automatically move it to all of the buckets it belongs in, you realize how little is left of that paycheck. If you don't do that, you feel wealthier than you are twice a month, right?
Yeah. And it goes away very quickly. Well, let's talk a little bit about debt. How would you advise a couple to set up a strategy for paying down debt? Again, kind of meeting all the immediate needs too.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the key things is to focus on your credit score. Making sure you have a really good credit score and you're optimizing that you have the best interest rates you can. That's such an easy chore to put off and neglect, but it can really save you a lot of money in the long run. And then looking at the real cost of that debt and how much you would really save if you put another $5,000 a year towards reducing your debt. What is that actually saving you in dollars? And if you look at that number, sometimes you think, oh, that's worth it to me. I'll aggressively pay this down because I could use that money towards, my Hawaii trip that I wasn't planning to go on for a few years anyway. And so one of our features for student loans is to see how much do I pay in my student loans, and if I were to pay it more aggressively, how much would I save in the long run? And it's really surprising. Or refinancing. High interest rates are right now, so it's not the ideal time to refinance, but for most people. But maybe if you've gotten your credit score way up, it still is.
Yeah, those are some great ideas. Let's talk a little bit about tax advantage retirement savings and helping couples kind of navigate their retirement planning.
Yeah, so we have we just launched retirement plans actually, and it was a really fun exercise to go through building that product because If you just take the traditional way of thinking about it, everyone thinks they're going to retire at a certain age. Maybe you're not planning to retire at that age, or maybe you're going to half retire at a certain age. And so thinking about, when am I going to retire, and how much do I need? And we work with behavioral economists, and they say you actually spend more in retirement than you think you will, because you have so much free time.
Mm, yeah.
Don't underestimate what happens when suddenly you're, free all
Yeah.
day, every day. You pick up hobbies and travel and so forth. So we try and walk people through that. But then there's also the tax advantaged money you don't want to leave on the table every year. But then, aligning on exactly how much you want for retirement, and when you want to retire, and what's the best way to get there from a tax perspective. It just takes a little bit of thinking and a little bit of discipline, but the sooner you do it, of course, we all know, the better off you are.
Yeah. Boy, as we go through this conversation, there's so many things that couples really need to talk about, not just sort of the weekly, monthly budget, but the sort of lifelong plan and what they're going to do, even deciding when you're all going to retire. And then, right now, I think people are sort of struggling with, well, I've got student loan debt, or I've got credit card debt, but I also need to save for an emergency in case I lose my job. I want to save for a house. They've got so many things kind of, and then, inflation. What would be your advice for someone about making sure they've got an emergency savings, and should they do that or pay off debt first? What are some of your thoughts on that?
I think it comes down to your risk tolerance. I'll always want an emergency fund before I'll want to have paid off my student loans aggressively. But other people that maybe feel like they can always call their parents or something like that might not feel like they need that emergency fund quite so desperately, and so better to get rid of the loan. So I think some of it has to do with your genuine risk tolerance, but also your situation. Do you kind of have an emergency fund already? Or do you not have anyone you can call, and you've maxed out your credit? Then you probably need an emergency fund like tomorrow.
All right. Well, Katherine Salisbury with Qapital, thank you so much for being with us. I think you've given us a lot of good things to think about, and ways that we can work with our partners on trying to resolve any conflicts and make sure that everybody's on the same page. So hopefully they're kind of all moving toward the same financial goals together. So we really appreciate that. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. It was fun. And by the way, folks, again, if you want to explore the Qapital Dream Team app for sharing finances, just go to qapital.com for more information. And again, thanks, Katherine, for being with us. And we'll put a link to that on our Facebook page as well, so people can check that out.
Thanks so much.
You bet. And thank you so much for being with us. That was our episode of Sharing Money with Your Honey. We'll be back here on Sullivan Smart Sense again with more topics. Anything you'd like us to dive into and cover for you, have a question, just let me know. We will continue to bring you the latest information that we can. Thanks so much for being with us.